What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a special edition morning live show with Tim. This is the Tim Warren channel. Not a whole lot of details to cover in the news past what we talked about yesterday, but we will talk about today a little more information coming out from JPMorgan and their plan on how they kind of want to manipulate the price of Bitcoin. Now, this news is going to have a little bit of dynamic details to it because on the surface, there's a lot of things that actually could be positive and ways that we actually boost Bitcoin's price action. But there's also ways that this can hurt. So I'm interested when we get into the details of it to hear your guys' thoughts about it and hear if you're bullish on this, if you're bearish on this, how are you feeling about the future price action of Bitcoin based on this new plan that's coming alive right now from JPMorgan. If you guys enjoy the video, make sure to smash like and hit subscribe. I'm still dealing with all this crap in my system. I have no idea what it is. Anyone a doctor know why you would have this crap in your system for 2.5 to 3 weeks? I don't feel sick. I just have like junk in my head and my throat. Is so weird. But I'm here. By the way, we're going to look at some charts here today, guys. We're going to answer some questions. I'll probably be live for 30 to 40 minutes. Not a whole lot of news to get into. Not a whole lot of brand new things happening on the charts, but I will do some special Q&A time, some TA on some of your guys' favorite altcoins. So make sure to smash that like button if you don't mind. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening on the Bitcoin chart. You guys can see we've been in a little bit of a consolidation here. This is the hourly chart right here. And we've been consolidating since the highs we had back 2 days ago on the 24th. We keep going back and forth between 87,000. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. There is a buy signal coming in or close to coming in on the 1 hour chart. You do see the green reversals, the bullish momentum, and the positive money flow coming in right here. This could send the price of Bitcoin if it ends up coming to fruition, which would make sense because we're in a slightly bull trend right now. This could end up sending the price of Bitcoin at least back up here towards resistance once this loads back up towards 88.2, right? So 88,000, give or take, is going to be an interesting level to watch. Of course, there's the order block. We could double top up here back at 89,000 like we did the other day. But when you come out to the 4 hour chart, you're still dealing within some positivity happening right now, but there was technically a sell signal, right? Red reversals, bearish momentum, negative money flow. Now, during a bull trend, a lot of times we do see this stop short of where we could see it get to. In a bear trend, I would tell you it's about a guarantee we're going to come down and hit 84,500 or even go lower, obviously. But for now, in a bull trend, and you can see the choppiness on the oscillator here from flow signals, it really hasn't decided if it wants to make that move. But if it does, I do think that we can stay bullish and say that this still is the bottom for now, as long as we stay above this order block, as long as we stay above the 4 hour smart trail here in this range of, again, 84,500. Okay. This order block is going to be very, very important for the bulls to maintain their bullishness so far. But that's the kind of volatility happening on the shorter time frames. Good news. We're still, as we talked about yesterday, we still have a confirmed daily buy signal on this daily chart here. Green reversals, bullish momentum, positive money flow. The MACD is crossing bullish here in the next couple of days, more than likely. Maybe it happens some point today if we get a big bullish rally. This is a very positive sign. Doesn't mean we can't come back down here and touch this order block at 84, right? There's an order block on the daily chart as well. Does not mean we can't have a misdirection move where we temporarily kind of confuse the markets, come down low, make a couple bulls get out of their long positions, and then we shoot to the upside, right? Target right now to watch, 97, 96K. I think I said 97, 98. It does look like that daily smart trail is dropping here a little bit. That's the first level I'm watching, that order block at 96.8, 97,000. I've told you, though, I do think there's a decent chance Bitcoin makes it up to this order block closer to 103. It ends up doing what it did, a very similar move to 2022, where we shoot back up to touch resistance on the 200-day SMA. Not predicting this to happen by the end of this week. This is something to watch for closer to end of year. We're talking about mid to late December, a retest of the 200-day SMA. This is going to curve over. It's going to fall to the downside, right? So we're not going to probably touch it where it currently is up here on 110. I think the $103,000, $105,000 range is a very realistic probability for us to run into that 200-day moving average. And then it's decision time. Do we get rejected on it and fall to the downside and the bear market continues? Or was this finally the bottom? Do we break through the 200-day SMA and start heading towards new all-time highs? That is going to be the big question. Now, I want to make sure we get back into this. I want to make sure we cover some charts later on with some Q&A time, but that's really the gist of it right now. Not a whole lot to cover. If you watched yesterday's live stream, it was only 20 minutes long. I encourage you, if you didn't, go back and watch it. That's what I want to talk about on the charts right now. We'll do some other special charts a little bit later on. Here's reasons to stay optimistic. Before we get into the JPMorgan story, reasons to stay optimistic. You will see this morning, we have maintained a very high level of probability that December will see a rate cut. Remember, one of the biggest reasons the bull market has been frustrating so far / non-existent for the altcoin space has been because of the lack of liquidity. We need excessive rate cuts. Yes, we've had a few, but we need them to continue, and we need to move into a period of time of quantitative easing. And right here, 25 basis points, according to Polymarket, has an 83% likelihood. You can say 84 if you want to add in the 1% predicting a 50 basis point cut. But we see a very good probability that December not only will end QT on December 1st, but on the 10th, we will get another series of rate cuts. And if they're going to cut rates in December, more than likely they're going to continue in 2026. All this is actually maybe a little surprising we're staying this high because remember, we had to cover the initial jobless claims. The initial jobless claims are not necessarily unemployment directly, but it does kind of give you an indication of what the employment levels are doing. It will have an impact on unemployment levels. They actually came out kind of favorably this morning, coming out at 216,000, lower than the previous number at 222 and lower than expectations. The expectation was actually 225,000. So there's a couple ways to kind of play this out. On one side, you could be a little disappointed here saying, man, if unemployment's not really out of control, does this maybe make the Fed say, oh, you know what? Unemployment's not out of control. We can kind of just pause here, think about it. We don't have to make any rash decisions. But clearly, right now, at least, the way the Fed, the way the market is moving, they're not predicting this to change the mind of the Fed. They think they're going to keep up with a 25 basis point cut. The other reason this could be very positive news and keep us on 25 basis point cut rate is because, remember, I've told you guys several times here. I've told you guys that you want unemployment to slightly increase to encourage the Fed to cut rates, but you don't want it to get out of control because when it gets out of control, you start to really build the momentum for a full-blown recession. So seeing initial jobless claims, and I understand it's holiday season right now, so this might be a little tainted, but seeing initial jobless claims stay lower than expected, higher than we want. We don't want 216,000 unemployed people, but this is actually something that maybe points towards the economy is not as bad as some people think. We are not headed for a recession, at least at this time. So that is one way to kind of think about it this morning. Either way, I think this is long-term bullish. It looks like rate cuts are still happening. It looks like the economy is not falling apart and people aren't going massively unemployed at the moment. We'll have to continue to monitor this story, though, as it develops, because that's going to be the big deal. As long as we keep away from a recession, I still rest on the theory that 2026 is going to be bullish with injected liquidity. But if unemployment begins to spike once again, and if it gets out of control, it doesn't matter if you have injected liquidity. If people are losing their jobs and the economy is in a downward spiral, we're going to see risk on assets drop as well. Let's get in, though, to the main topic, the main story I want to talk about. We're going to break this down, and then I want to get into some Q&A time with you guys as we do have our last show of the week here this morning. This is JPMorgan. Now, to set the stage, JPMorgan, of course, has been in the news a lot recently. They have an ongoing feud with the Bitcoin community, mostly because of FUD with MicroStrategy. They sold a whole lot of MicroStrategy recently. And of course, when MicroStrategy drops, this has a very big concern for the Bitcoin markets as a whole, because if MicroStrategy loses their positions, if they get to a point where they have to begin selling off their Bitcoin to make sure to not go insolvent, this could be a very, very big problem for the Bitcoin and crypto markets, right? So JPMorgan has not been Bitcoin's best friend here recently, but some new developments are coming out here over the last 24 hours. There was a story put out by Watchdog Guru saying just in $5 trillion JPMorgan says crypto is emerging as a tradable macro asset. Now, remember, yesterday, I told you guys, you got to be careful whenever JPMorgan, especially Jamie Dimon, but I would say JPMorgan in general, you have to be careful when they come out with either bullish or bearish opinions. This company has a history of putting out bullish opinions when it's actually a really good time to be selling, and has a history of putting out bearish opinions when it's a really good time to be buying. Now, if I had just seen this information, if I had just seen this article, I'm going to be honest with you guys, this would make me say, oh, man, are we about to drop even further to the downside? This isn't the news. If anyone's wondering, I put in the poll and said, hey, guys, what do you guys think about the information right now? This is not the news right now that's affecting why I think things could get bullish. But it is something that's interesting that they're saying this on top of this other news that has come out over the last couple of days. Now, Bitcoin News reported this earlier this morning, but I do think this information is a little bit older. I saw some trickling of this a couple of days ago, but from accounts that I really didn't know if I could trust or not. JPMorgan Chase has filed, though, officially with the SEC for a leveraged structured note that lets investors bet on Bitcoin's price through BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF. Very interesting. This product offers uncapped returns if Bitcoin falls by late 2026, but surges by 2028. In other words, unless you think we're headed into a very, very, very long-term bear market, let's say you're a 4-year cyclist and you think that 2026 is going to be bearish. Well, guess what? You can just hold on to these futures accounts all the way into 2028, an expected bull market. This is a very bullish opportunity, even under a bearish situation. If you're sitting on the fence right now, you're like, I'm not sure if we're going to enter a bear market or not. This investment actually could be a safe place to go, because even if you drop, you can stay in this for a very long time. By the way, this is going to have a 1.5x leverage to it. So it's going to be more advantageous and it's going to look more enticing. If you're bullish on Bitcoin, it's going to look a little bit more enticing to hold this leverage structured position, this note, more so than necessarily holding Bitcoin itself. And therein lies the kind of issue that we have to discuss here. On the bullish side, this could be very bullish because it's another incentive for people to be able to get access to Bitcoin and hold long-term in the futures markets without major fear of liquidation. So this is going to speak to traditional finance advisors. There's going to be current Bitcoin holders that go this route instead. It's advantageous. I mean, obviously, if Bitcoin, let's pretend Bitcoin shoots to $500,000 by 2028. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying let's pretend. Well, the people holding this note will make more money than people holding spot Bitcoin. So it's a very advantageous looking thing. It's going to bring a lot of people into the space. Here's where the problem begins to come in, though. Could this incentivize people to hold this note and an ETS rather than holding spot Bitcoin? And you might be saying, Tim, why does it matter? I'll make money either way. Here's why it matters. Because if all of the spot Bitcoin goes to BlackRock and JPMorgan and MicroStrategy and other large institutions, and all of a sudden we're looking at this in the next 10 to 15 years, and 90% of actual Bitcoin is held by the institutions rather than by the people, that is a situation where all of a sudden the people who've been controlling money supply for 100 years because of taking the dollar off of the gold standard, they will once again gain control of the new monetary policy. Bitcoin is going to be the future of wealth, but they'll own 80, 90, 95% of it. You'll just own a banknote that says you have a current valuation of whatever that ETF is worth, right? I think this is bullish for price action. I actually really do think this is bullish for price action. But is it a secret plan? And this is where I need you guys to kind of chime in. Tell me if you think I'm crazy. Is this a secret plan between JPMorgan and BlackRock and other large institutions to not allow people to actually maintain this wealth? They want to keep you in their dungeons, keep you in their traps. If you don't actually own Bitcoin, you just own their ETFs, you're still underneath their thumb of control and power. They still are the ones that can manipulate the price of Bitcoin wherever they want it to be. But if the masses own the majority of Bitcoin, it makes their ability to manipulate price a whole lot less. So in a nutshell, will this make price of Bitcoin go up over the long haul? I believe yes. But could this be long-term damaging to the freedom that Bitcoin really could give us as a people? Yes, I do see it, because ultimately we still will be underneath the thumb of the elites, underneath the thumb of the institutions. Let me know in chat, what do you guys think? I think this is a story that really, as people dig into more and think about it, could be a very bullish story for privacy coins and smaller coins. Think of like the Zcashes, think of Cardano even, some coins that are more decentralized. I mean, at this point, Bitcoin is decentralized, but this is an effort or a plan in which they might be working slowly but surely to remove the decentralization of Bitcoin. I don't want to cause too much fear and uncertainty and doubt. Here's what I'll tell you. I'm going to buy Bitcoin, spot Bitcoin. I'm not saying I'd never invest in something like this. Again, a leverage position on Bitcoin that's kind of trustable. I get it. I understand why people want to do it. But I'd encourage people. I'm not a financial advisor, so you do whatever you want. I'm going to encourage you to not give up your spot Bitcoin for a play like this. Keep Bitcoin in the hands of the people. Keep it as decentralized as possible. That's what I'm kind of feeling this morning. Let me know what you guys think down below. I do want to get into a time period of some Q&A. I want to hear some thoughts from you guys, whether it's on this issue, whether you guys want me to do some technical analysis on your favorite altcoins or not. We'll do some Q&A and some charts before we wrap it out here today. But I want to give us a quick word from our sponsor of today's show. Of course, we've been talking about them the last couple of days, but I wanted to make sure you guys save money, right? You're going to hear us talk about NordVPN from time to time. They are a sponsor of the channel, but I really want to talk about them right now because I want you to save money. Up to 78% you can save right now when you sign up for NordVPN. For less than a cup of coffee, you get covered with your privacy and security for a whole month. And guess what? We're in the world of trading. We're in the world of crypto, places where security and privacy are a must. If you don't have a VPN, I don't know what you're doing. You're playing with fire. Go sign up right now with NordVPN. Whether you want the basic plan all the way to the prime plan, they're all relatively cheap because of the Black Friday sale. So make sure you go sign up today with NordVPN in the link down below. Time is limited, so go act fast. Oh, man. I feel like I have like wheezing going on here. Again, I feel fine. If my foot wasn't hurting because of like the heel bursitis I have, I probably could go run a mile, but again, I don't run very far. I don't like to run. I like to lift, but you get my point. I don't feel sick. I just sound sick. Yeah, Plume is up a lot here today. Let's go take a look at Plume because it is, I saw at one point it was at like 50% in a very small amount of time, right? I own Plume. I don't trade Plume, right? So I'm not constantly looking at the chart here. This is the Plume chart. Actually, a pretty big pullback already has happened here today. You can see we opened the day down here at 2.5 cents. How big of a rally did this get to before that wick kind of started? We rallied 90, almost 100%. We almost doubled in price here on Plume. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'll have to look into it. We're in a little bit disarray. My research guy, Shrum, is moving back to Florida, so he's not been sending me all these notes. Maybe something really big happened with Plume. I don't know. Either way, big rally, but it is pulling back right now. Like if I were to go to the 1 hour chart, you can see here a lot of this kind of happened quickly. Let's look at a 5 minute chart. How fast did this really get going? It really big candle here on a 5 minute chart, so it did not take a lot of time. Had a little bit of consolidation, had another big boost for about 10 minutes, and then it's been a long, drawn-out process here the rest of this morning. So Asia really going big on Plume here, but it's correcting now back down to a middle point. What is this going to do? Well, here's the thing. Plume's down from recent levels here. You're going to sit here and say, oh, Tim hit a new low. Well, guess what? It's not that old of a coin. It's not that surprising it hit down low to that level. What's good to know is the daily buy signal is here. Now, I will say we probably touched the smart trail with that wick. I'd be very surprised if the smart trail's above that. Yes. Guess what we did? This is where these flow signal indicators are just so great. If you had caught this rally, you would have known, hey, good, big order block up here in the realm of 4.8 cents. That's right where we rejected and came back down. Not saying this means it's over, right? We probably need to start watching some smaller time frames, waiting for these to correct. It does look like a 4 hour sell signal is going to come in. So I'm not expecting a boom here today. By the way, we saw the same thing on Bitcoin. If we looked at other altcoins today, we're going to see the same thing. I don't know, unless the bulls just come in. Obviously, anytime people buy more than they sell, price is going to go up. But I don't know if we're sitting around waiting today for a massive run to the upside. I think today's a volatile day. I think today is kind of sorting some things out. 4 hour charts are looking a little vulnerable. Yeah, the 1 hour charts are probably looking like a buy signal. Not on Plume, on Bitcoin it was, and a couple other altcoins. So when I say volatile, it means all over the place. Don't be surprised to see Plume even maybe jump back up here and then fall back down. But that 4 hour sell signal or very close to it, I think is something to be aware of. I'd be keeping my eyes on these order blocks in play. I don't think we need to fall all the way back down to 2.3 cents, but I would be watching 2.8 cents. That's a nice little order block right there. I'd be looking and saying, hey, that's probably a decent level. If you want to get in on Plume, if you have a reason, I think this is a coin that could have some big upside momentum. The U.S. government has mentioned it as a part of the real world asset space. 2.8 cents is probably a very interesting spot to be looking at the moment here on Plume. By the way, when you do all this, I think that's going to be it's going to be close at least to a Fibonacci level to keep an eye on. All right, it's between the golden pocket and the platinum pocket. So it's not exactly there. You can see we're kind of consolidating in the golden pocket, but there's volume here. So I still think a wick to that order block would make a lot of sense, even though it doesn't match up with a key level on the Fibonacci. But there you go. That's Plume. Again, big morning, but also came back down as well. All right, let's look at some other questions here. I hold Bitcoin and Ethereum in my portfolio, but plan to add ETFs to my Roth IRA. I think it's a great plan. Line in my pocket, great plan. Again, I'm not your financial advisor. If you want to have a financial advisor, reach out. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of very good pro-crypto financial advisors out there. What we do with even our education group is we don't make any plans for anyone. We help walk people through wisdom, thinking through and creating their own plans. Effectively, if someone's like, yeah, I'm going to go all into Moon coin, it's like, okay, let's talk about why going all in on one coin is not a good thing, right? We educate people on how to create their own plans. We never tell someone, like we never have a review with someone and say, like, you need to own this coin and this coin and this coin and this coin and this coin. We say, hey, this is the way to think about the markets. This is things the charts are saying right now. This is proper risk management. What do you feel like you like? What do you like this coin? Let's talk about pros and cons of this coin. Let's talk about big reasons why we want to be diversified in different fields. But ultimately walk people to the river so they can take the drink themselves. They build their own portfolio. But if you want a financial advisor to build one for you, that's not me. There are people out there that do that. Moonchain actually pumped 80%. Okay, well, there you go. I said Moon coin, so maybe I don't know. Moonchain, Moon coin. At this point, there's so many thousands of different altcoins out there. You could almost say anything, and it probably exists or is about to exist as a coin. Bought the Chainlink dip. I think that's a good plan. Again, we talked about it yesterday for altcoins. If you missed yesterday's show, I'm not going to go into depth on it because we talked about it yesterday. I didn't do any small term analysis on it. I guess if someone wants us to do like today's analysis on Chainlink or XRP or something, we could. I did macro analysis on it. Talked about what a daily buy signal means, and with these ETFs launching, and with the quantitative tightening ending, and with the expected rate cuts coming December. Listen, I want to make sure I'm addressing this properly, because someone's probably sitting here saying, Tim, you're saying December is going to be green, but everyone said October was going to be green, and everyone said November was going to be green, and clearly those months were not green. I get it. There are some added things about December that make it a very likely candidate to be a green candle. Liquidity should be added in. Unemployment's not out of control. They will be cutting rates. They'll be ending quantitative tightening, and we're launching, or just have launched, several different new ETFs. Markets are down, blood's in the streets. All things are funneling, and it's not a guarantee because nothing's 100%, but all things are funneling towards a green December, okay? Not promising new all-time highs. I'm not telling you that we're going to hit Tom Lee's predictions where Bitcoin's going to be at 150,000 and Ethereum at 7,000. Not saying that. I would love to see it. I'm not rooting against it. I'm just not calling for that. I'm just saying I think the month is going to be green. And in yesterday's video, we talked about some key levels of resistance to keep an eye on for that green month. All right. Let's scroll up a little bit because people have been asking questions here for a little bit. I want to make sure I'm a one-man show today. Smay's out, Shrum's out. I am running the show. I'm pushing the buttons. I'm doing the charts. I'm reading the chat. So stick with me here. If you asked a question earlier, don't bother hitting it again. Because again, I need to keep up with it. Redline says, I'm all about letting my body do its job and only use things that make that nature made to assist or give comfort. I've only been sick 2 times in the last 30 years and never caught COVID, or it was a nothing burger. Again, like I think someone else said, Tim, walking pneumonia. I have to look in. I don't know the symptoms of walking pneumonia. I don't feel bad. I understand. Again, I don't think I've ever had walking pneumonia or pneumonia of any kinds. I think I've heard like your body kind of shuts down even with walking pneumonia. I'm doing fine. I just have phlegm in my chest. My head feels clogged. I actually am thinking Yesterday, I was feeling a pressure like behind my eyeball. I'm actually wondering if I have like a sinus infection and it's keeping the phlegm going and things going. So I need to look into that. Nothing against, if anyone's listening and you're a doctor, congratulations. You've picked a great line of work. I don't like going to doctors. I don't like going to the doctor for plenty of reasons. I've encountered bad doctors. I've encountered doctors who pretty much told me nothing and then charged me a whole lot of money. I like to stay away from them as best I can. Put a 1 in chat if you guys are in the same boat. But again, no offense, doctors. We need you. I've had several things in my life that I absolutely needed a doctor. So I want doctors to exist. I just don't want to go see you every other day. Okay, I'll forgive you for not dropping that hat link since you are by yourself. I'm honestly, guys, I'm not profiting off this hat whatsoever. I bought this hat on TikTok. So go to TikTok and get the hat. You don't have to use my link or anything. Yeah. AXL TA. All right, let's take a look at AXL TA maybe. Gotta find it, and then I'll share my screen. I know some people are gonna say, Tim, you're not sharing your screen. I'll share my screen. Don't worry, guys. I'll share my screen. Yeah, pneumonia, cough, fever, shortness of breath. Cough, yes. Shortness of breath, maybe a little bit, but not much, but no fever. I have not had a fever whatsoever. So strange. And even like the shortness of breath, I cough up a chunk of phlegm and then all of a sudden I'm breathing fine. All right, Axelar is what we're looking at here. It's been pulling back here the last 4 hours. Remember, I told you guys a lot of these coins have 4-hour sell signals. It looks like it's heading down towards its 4-hour smart trail. I'd be very surprised if we don't end up touching it. I mean, you could look at this one right here and say double bottom at 12.57. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, though, on how that's going to work. I would be very surprised if we don't end up hitting that one. On a more macro situation, you guys can see it's a skinny channel. But I do think there's a nice little channel kind of developing here on Axelar. So you're going to want to probably say, listen, buy low, buy low, sell high. But you could even, if we dropped lower, come down here towards 11.3. You really want to break above this. Let's make this red. I like resistance levels being red. That's orange, Tim. Let's get the red button. There we go. You kind of want to get above that one to feel good about Axelar being bullish again. And guess what? Even if you have to wait till 15 cents, got a long way to the upside. Once the bullish things start going, it could make a nice run to the upside. I don't know a lot about Axelar's fundamentals, so don't ask me a whole lot about that. That'd be a great question for Crux on his channel. I do like the chart though. Green reversal, got bullish divergence in play, got that green momentum dot, and the money flow is not positive just yet. It's kind of sideways, but it looks good right now. Right, it does look good. So I keep an eye on that one. Axelar, it's not trading the same. It's similar. It's not trading the same as Bitcoin necessarily. So keep an eye on that one. But it does have a daily buy signal. So when it pops, it could pop pretty well. Someone just asked in chat, how about SUI? I saw several people say SUI and ONDO in yesterday's video. Let's take a look at those two. I hold both of these. I like both of these. There hasn't been a lot of news on them necessarily recently. Hasn't been a lot of reason to talk about them, but I do still hold them. If anyone is wondering what is going on there, just like everything else, they have the daily buy signals. I'm looking at here and I'm saying, as long as Bitcoin stays in its buy signal and starts to rally the upside, could end up being a fake buy signal. So I want to make sure people are prepared for that. Would not be surprised to see a $2 to potentially $2.30 SUI. Why? Because the daily chart has that buy signal. Yes, the smart show's a little lower here towards 188. So you want to be aware of that. But I have a good feeling that with everything happening, we will enter into a period of time where things are bullish. Smart trail resistance levels are broken. I'd be watching these order blocks as my key level. If we can go higher than that, I mean, could it make its way all the way back over $3? Here's a reason to think that I'm being conservative with my analysis and I'm looking at conservative order blocks. One reason to suspect that possibly altcoins should go even more so to the upside is that Bitcoin dominance is continuing to collapse. Now, at some point, Bitcoin dominance should have some sort of a relief bounce at this point. Now, we're down to 58.61. There's a big order block here at 58.22. But this is a sign that right now, altcoins are not falling as fast as Bitcoin. And then during the rallies, they're out rallying Bitcoin. It's another reason I'm bullish on the markets right now, right? You never see a bear market and altcoins hold up better than Bitcoin. Altcoins will always bleed harder than Bitcoin in a true bear market. So whether this is about to skyrocket the upside during a crash in a bear market and this just shoots up, or are we actually into a bull market that's just not really revealing itself just yet. This is going to give us a little bit of a sign to say, hey, you know what? Some altcoins could outperform and start just destroying resistance levels. This is what happens during major bull runs. Think about even SUI as we're talking about it. You come back here, and there's periods of time where SUI will just catch fire. You know, at one point down here in August 24, resistance was actually sitting here at 80 cents, and more up here at $1, and more up here at $2, and it just obliterated it. Why? Because this was a miniature altcoin season. SUI had some really fantastic news. Under these bullish situations, you can just obliterate resistance levels. As a trader, I am going to be a conservative take profit guy. I'll look for re-entries. Like the whole goal here would, you take profit, you look for a rebound, you enter again. You take profit, you look for a rebound, you enter again, right? So I'm not going to be on here telling you guys, hey guys, let's talk about the most bullish situation possible. In December, SUI is going to rip through all these resistance levels, get back up over $4, and start making its way towards new all-time highs. Could it happen? Yes. Is it going to happen? I have no idea. Am I waiting for it to happen? No. I would take profit on SUI long before any of that move, but I'm rooting for it to happen. I have a long-term bag that I will let ride for a while because I believe in SUI long-term. How about ONDO? Again, I still think ONDO is going to be a very special real-world asset play, and yet it's bleeding, right? ONDO here reached levels we had not seen since all the way back in March of 2024. Now, daily buy signal, check, right? We have this kind of coming in. Even in these periods of bearish trends, you can see these buy signals have been good opportunities to get a little bounce on ONDO. Why is this one a little different? Because again, you move into the macro news and you start to look at liquidity coming back in and you say, okay, this is one that we could change the trend here, right? We have not broken through the daily smart trail. You could make it argument. Yeah, well, let's just go right here. We have not stretched the daily smart trail since all the way back here in September. We've been in a very clearly defined bear trend, not even making it back up to the smart trail. I bet you every single one of these situations rejected on some form of an order block, probably lower time order blocks, but you get my point here. I keep my eyes on ONDO, 60 cents order block and a smart trail. I think, though, this is one, again, Bitcoin gets above 100,000 again. We stretch some smart trails out. I'll be looking at these two order blocks, 71 cents, and I'll tell you why 87 cents. It's a little higher, but I'll tell you why I think that could happen, because at the end of the day, that's still not anywhere close to new all-time high, and ONDO has dropped so far, so fast, so egregiously that the harder you fall, the harder you bounce. Like, think of a basketball. The higher you drop it from, the higher the bounce back up could be. Could ONDO be one of the top performers in December and January? Sure. And that still doesn't even put it back up to $1. It could be a top performer and still not be in a great place long-term chart-wise. Now, do I believe in ONDO long-term? Do I think ONDO has the potential and possibility of exploding and ripping to the upside once liquidity is back in and once the bull market happens and once institutions really start moving heavily into actually moving their assets into crypto and using real world assets? Yes, I think ONDO is going to be. I think ONDO is going to be one of the biggest benefactors of true institutional adoption. It just hasn't started yet, and that's the key word, yet. When's it going to start? That's the frustrating question. I thought it would start earlier this year. It didn't. I thought it was going to start this summer. It didn't. I thought it was going to start this fall. It didn't. December has good resources and things to think it could start in December. But until then, we're going to trade. We're going to trade, and that means buy support, sell resistance. Okay? That's what we're going to do. We're going to have a long-term bag that we let ride for good things, but we're going to be more aggressive in trading and buying the support levels and taking profit on resistance levels. Last one, let's take a look at TAO here. Now, TAO's an interesting one because it's kind of had a mind of its own throughout this whole process. It's a AI crypto. It's going to have a lot probably more in common with like NVIDIA's chart, even though it's not perfectly following NVIDIA's chart. But there's been time periods where every other crypto is dropping and TAO is just ripping to the upside. What is TAO telling us right now? Let's take a look at this chart. Got a daily buy signal. You'll love to see it. Now, again, expect volatility. Here's one of the reasons why. You're seeing this red tag up here that's saying lower time frames are selling. By the way, I got to update mine. Maybe I can do it. Can I do it right here? I got to update this. I don't know why it's not giving me an update, because we did update it and this is bigger now, so you can read it actually. This is telling me lower time frames like the 1 hour and 4 hour, not as bullish right now as the daily chart. So 4 hour chart, for example, you go over here. Yeah, look at that. little top here a couple hours ago. 4 hour sell. I'm just going to guarantee. Yeah, 4 hour sell signal is in place here. Where am I looking down here? Let's just start. I think an order block here at 297. Could we make our way all the way down to 281? Yes, we could. I would say 297 to me is a very interesting spot to keep an eye on. I think we're in a bullish trend right now, but there's going to be some volatility. Just like I talked about with other coins, volatility is going to happen. But when I look at the more longer term effects here, we are running into the daily order block, so we're having some resistance, but we're just getting going with that buy signal on TAO. Where I would kind of be watching, there's lots of little order blocks here. Again, I think the simple, easy ones will be these ones at 360 and 380, but I'd be watching up here at 450. I think, again, Bitcoin to 103-ish area. I think you're looking at TAO to 450. Hey, maybe it gets up to 500, but I'd guess closer to 450. And again, what we're going to kind of have to watch and see is what does Bitcoin do when Bitcoin gets back to that 200-day moving average? How are we going to kind of apply that and deal with that? And then do we break through and the bull market's back upon us? Or do we get rejected and start to head back down? You take some profits. You look to buy a dip because of the manipulated market. Robert D, love seeing you in here. I know you're not a fan, but I love you anyway. No, $700 Chainlink has not happened yet. Stay tuned. Probably a couple years. Again, I honestly, like, there's so many people on the internet. It's a compliment to know at some points you get haters. That means you're doing something big enough that haters stick around and talk to you. But I want you to know I don't hate my haters. If you guys want to say I'm a clown or say I call things wrong, everyone gets things wrong. I've gotten things wrong. I get it. I own my mistakes. I'm moving on. Glad you're here, Robert. Glad for contributing. Thank you for being in here. Smash the like button. Yeah. Let's see here. Tim, are you adding to your ETH bag? Asked Leslie. I did add to my ETH bag a couple weeks ago. I didn't, let's see. I did not get the exact dip, right? I probably added to my ETH bag somewhere in this range around 2,900, somewhere down here. Because 29, I remember I had a support, there was a big support level around 2870. And I always got by a little bit above that. So that little even addition I added, we're not even back up to, well, no, we're probably breaking even on where I added. I probably added right around 2,900. I will get some more dry powder in the next week, in which case I want to add some. I'll save some just in case we get a pullback down. But I added last week, but I have not added any Ethereum this week. This week I was focusing on some Solana, I added some Chainlink, and I did add some Bitcoin. I haven't added Bitcoin in a long time. A lot of times I'll talk about Bitcoin support levels, and when Bitcoin hits a certain level, I'll buy my altcoins. I actually added some Bitcoin because of how low it got. All right. All right. We're going to do one more question. I'm going to call it a day here. Again, I'm leaving this afternoon to go see some family up in North Florida, spend Thanksgiving with them. By the way, everybody, if I told you guys earlier about NordVPN, make sure, again, right now, you go check it out. If you want to be in the VIP trading group, if you want to learn about technical analysis, see some daily live trading, it's not just me. There's other pro traders there that are amazing. They're trading and scalping every single day, finding ways to make money in bull markets and bear markets. We do long-term swing trades. We do short-term little 5-minute trades as well. Make sure to go check out the discount happening right now on the Tim Warren Trading Group. If you want to do month to month, you can get 33% off. Just use code BF33. You can get that for 3 months. If you use code BF50 for the annual plan, though, you get 50% off. So I encourage you, if you've been on the fence about it, right, the Essentials package just gets you in our VIP trading group. Let's use the indicator for free. Gives you access to all of our live trading stuff. $60 a month. It's actually going to be, again, if you do a whole year, $30 a month. So if you see this price, that's not including the discount. We tried to make it look like that. It didn't work like that. If you want to learn and get the academy, that's the academy right here. That would be like $75 a month if you buy the whole year, or like $100 a month, I guess, if you buy the month to month. Go act now. By the way, Gem Hunters Academy, I don't participate in this because I'm not a gem hunter, but Crux does a fantastic job. That one as well. You get 50% off. You can get it for $150 right now for the whole year. And it gives you access, by the way, when you buy one level, you get access to all the lower levels as well. So if you're wondering if that Gem Hunters is separate, it's not. It's a part of the whole group. If you're wondering how to get that, make sure, go into the description of this video. You guys see, we're watching it right now. Go in the description. NordVPN links right here. Black Friday promo deal with those codes. By the way, you got to put those codes in. Those codes won't pop up for you. You choose what you want to do, monthly or yearly. Put the right code in that WAP.com link, and you guys get access to that here We're going to be running it through this week and next week, but time's limited. All right. We're probably going to call it a day here. Let's read some last ones. Grateful for you, Tim and the crew, says Leslie. Thank you so much, Leslie. Angel says, love Tim and the crew. Happy Thanksgiving, Tim, to your family and everyone here. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Again, I said it yesterday, so I'm not going to repeat everything I said, but this is just a time to get away from the charts. I'm gonna look at charts. I'm not going to just disappear, but I'm going to spend time with family. You guys, I've said this over and over and over again. The whole reason I'm here, the whole reason I'm trading and running this channel, do I want to make money? Yes, I want to make money. But money to me is simply a tool. It's not the end goal. I don't want to become a millionaire for a millionaire's sake. I want to become a multimillionaire because I want to, A, provide for my family, a mission and an order I've been given by God to provide for my family. I want to teach and instill principles in them of wisdom and knowledge. But I also want to give back and help other people. I also want to see the world become a better place. And the world sucks. Let's be honest. The world sucks. And I don't believe we can fix the world. Only Jesus can fix the world. And you know what? We kind of know through the revelations, we're not going to fix the world. The world's going to end in disaster. But as long as I'm here and as long as I have air in my breath, even if it has a cough to it, I'm going to do my best to help every single person I possibly can to better their lives and help them understand that this isn't the end. This world, this life, this money is not the end goal. It's a great tool. I love being here. I love being alive. It's a joy to wake up every morning. But at the end of the day, there's a bigger mission. There's a bigger thing going on. And that's what I'm here for. So love you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Be grateful. Use this week. Think about the things you have. Think about the good things in life. Don't focus on the bad. Don't focus on how red your portfolio is. Be grateful for something. I will see you guys next Monday. Love you. Adios.